Chickity check. From Maine Cap N Stem, this is the MycoWizards podcast. I'm Eric Lohman, and welcome to our 6th installment of this mycological madness. I say that too much. Of an old school radio show. The feedback everybody's been giving us has been wildly encouraging, so I gotta say thank you so much to all of our amazing listeners out there. Today, we take a bit of a dip into the world of Cap N Stem's humble beginnings with my conversation with Lisa Pixley. Lisa, first and foremost, is a beautifully kind and sincere human who I would fight very hard to keep on my side through this wild life. Luckily, I haven't had to. She's always been there because she's like the home base for artists in Portland, Maine. And she's married to my business partner, Christopher Campbell, which definitely ups points for him. Makes him that much cooler for being married to such a cool woman. Listening back while putting this episode together, I was really amazed at how much we actually talked about mushrooms. Well, Lisa's a forager for the love of it. She's a professional printmaker with a masterfully creative mind. And our conversations are always full of departures from the norm. So it goes to show interests and obsessions into mycology are, in general, very deep-seated and ever-present. So sit back and enjoy the path this conversation took.
Fancy.
All right, I think we're recording now. Yes. Cool. Yeah, there it goes. The nice part about doing this shit in person, too, is it sounds way better.
Yeah, it sounds so good.
So much better.
Yeah, I just want to start singing a song.
I've had conversations with people who are you can tell they're like in somewhere where they don't want to be, and they're like trying to ignore things and sounds and whatever. Either it's their office, like during the day for me, and the hardest ones are like the California recordings because it's 7 here, but it's 5 there. They're just settling down, and I'm like, I'm ready to go to bed.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I did have an interesting conversation, speaking of that book. Most people who are like in this mushroom world, they did have some relation to like psychedelic growing. And the crazy part is you negate that basic microscopy spore syringe side when you get into the gourmet world. And I had an interview that I did with Andrew Collar-Reed, and he's down in Tennessee, Mossy Creek Mushrooms, where basically he's doing breeding programs, and it's very normal for cubensis growers to do breeding. It's because it's the only way to transport spores that are psychedelic legally, because they don't have anything illegal in them. So these spores are suspended in water, and then you inject that into a sterile media, and then it grows. Yeah. But what happens is you have so many different phenotypes growing as you have different sort of preferences for like the available sexual options, that each mushroom is potentially a completely different phenotype. So then the way to get a culture is to then take one of those mushrooms, clone it. That's one phenotype. Yeah. So that's pretty like inherent within the psychedelic growing world. Sure. And he's trying to bring it back and basically like put it into the realm of gourmet growers, so that the sustainability for like the strains and the ideas and the concepts going forward are not like plants. We're not like protecting seeds. We're actually like creating biodiversity instead of preserving biodiversity. Yeah. If that makes any sense. So
it makes total sense. Right. I was sort of fascinated by that with just the fruits and vegetables that we eat, that the strawberries that you're buying in the grocery store were selected most likely for its shelf life, not its flavor. Shelf life and, how pretty it is to buy. And once you start growing these heirloom varieties, you're like, oh my God, this ugly strawberry is freaking delicious. And so that's really important. It must be really important with mushrooms.
It's gotta be.
Yeah. And of course you can select for the ones that have the longest shelf life, but you can also select for ones that have that.
Just look cool.
Yeah. Look cool, or that crazy flavor, or.
Yeah, Andrew was talking about like a violet oyster. They found like a real strong violet, and it disappeared. There's like part of the problem when you're doing these breeding programs is you're doing so many different options all at once. Yeah. that you kind of forget that like some are going on. So you ignore them. And, you know, if you hire people who don't really know what they're doing, they're just going to harvest them and go about their day.
Right.
So, so he's like, I saw it. And I said, harvest that and put it aside. And it got sold to a chef and turned into a meal before I ever got to clone it. And I was like, oh, at least it went somewhere good.
Yeah. So now it's his white whale or his purple whale.
His purple whale.
Speaking of psilocybin.
Yeah. Oh my God. Those books are so good though. Like what's the name of that? That one's
How to Identify and Grow Psilocybin Mushrooms.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating.
It's a good book. Looks like
it's an old one.
It's got some good illustrations in it.
Yeah, the comic in the back's pretty good. There's like all these hilarious. I think it's in the way back somewhere.
Oh yeah, Gary. Oh, that's hilarious. I'm growing smaller. Yeah. I was gonna say something. Oh, it reminds me of the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers. Did you ever?
No.
Fabulous Furry?
What is this?
It was something I probably shouldn't have seen at a really young age, but it was in with my uncle's porn.
And you pulled it out.
Yeah, it was like slightly pornographic comics from the our Chrome might have had something to do with it.
No way. Okay.
Yeah. I had to Google it though, that I don't know, but it's sort of part of that sort of Yep. Semi-stoned phallic penises. And I thought they were hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, probably totally screwed me up for life. Anyway, that's what it looks like.
I would assume that stuff would screw you up, but I think for most art people it doesn't, you know. Like that's the funny part about people who, like we were just talking about in the art world, you're just used to being around naked people constantly.
True.
Draw them all the time.
True. Yeah.
You're like investigating some dude's scrotum from like 30 yards away for too long. You realize that everything is just like what you make it out to be, you know? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. I'm helping homeschool my nephews. They're of course 3,000 miles away.
Yeah.
And twice a week we meet on Zoom, and I'm their art teacher, which is really fun. But yeah, I was trying to describe. They're really curious about art school. Like, what was art school like? What is it like to do art all day in school? They're 8.
Okay.
Yeah, they're 8. They're twins, and I'm like, well, you draw naked people, and they're like, what? What? I'm like, yeah, no. Like, what is that like? I'm like, you walk into the classroom, and there's all kinds of different naked people. Like sometimes they're big fat naked people, sometimes they're skinny.
Yeah.
You know. Sometimes it's an old lady, and they're like, they're naked. Cool. Yep, you got to learn anatomy, but we don't have to do that. We're going to keep our clothes on.
That's true.
Yeah, it was hilarious. I blew their little minds. So
that's pretty fantastic.
I now know they both want to go to art school.
They're like, sweet. That's where the naked people are. Yeah,
that's where you get to draw naked people. They don't realize that it's not as fun as it sounds. No, hours.
It's really torturous. Yeah,
it's really torturous. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Whatever. We had a couple like good models back at Montserrat, like this dude Dan, who I'm sure he still does it. He would hold these dramatic poses and like start crying like halfway in between them, just trying to hold them, you know. But they're so good that you're like
dedication.
Yeah, it was pure dedication. I swear this is the only thing he will ever do, and he's so fucking good at it, you know. Yeah. And it's like dramatic, like taking of Christ poses. Right. You're like, holy shit!
Wow.
So he made it exciting, and he would physically like disobey the art professor and like go move a light and be like, it's better over here.
That's great.
Like, who the fuck is teaching this class?
That's great.
Oh, it's so good.
We had one woman like that, but for us, it was mostly like whoever wanted. I don't know. We were like, you know how you can sell blood and sell your hair. We mostly had people who were like just trying to get their next fix.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. People just nodding off.
Yeah, exactly. Like, all I gotta do is sit here. This is the best gig ever.
It's a quick $25 to sit there naked.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very true.
But we definitely had some good models. So
have you had them draw from nature at all yet?
A little bit. It's hard when you're you know, through a computer on a table. So, but yeah, a little bit. They're really excited about the idea of a horizon line.
Yeah.
Any picture becomes a landscape if you just draw a line across it. Yeah. And depending on where you put that line will tell the viewer where you're standing. So if you put it way, way, way up high, it means you're really low to the ground. And if you put it really low to the ground, that means you're really high up. And they were like, whoa, mind blown. So every time they sit down and draw, that's what they do. They figure out where they are.
The horizon line.
They put the horizon line on the.
That stuff sticks with you forever.
Yeah.
I remember my uncle playing the scribble game with me before I could even draw anything, you know, and that was fantastic.
What's the scribble game?
He just made a scribble and said, draw something out of it. And then I did the same thing for him.
Yeah.
And it was like endless joy.
Yeah.
And it was mostly like, I don't know why it was just me and him. My aunt was busy or my mom was busy or whatever. And it'd be like pretty late at night. And I don't know where everybody was. Why the fuck it was just him and I have no idea. But I remember like specific times. They lived in this on the hill in Worcester. So, you know, sweet, weird old neighborhood. And we would just play the fucking scribble game.
Yeah.
He was the first person that had like it was like a greenhouse atelier. And it was this like just full of like art, everything, you know. And he never really did much in it. It was mostly in the den or the study that he would do stuff. But just like seeing that space, I was like, I always need a space. Yeah. That's the first time I was like, yes.
Right. A little sacred. It's almost like a chapel in a way.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. A little just a slightly sacred space that just doesn't accumulate junk. Yeah.
No, it's got to be organized. Yeah. That's like, I think most people treat, you know, the mushroom thing that way. Like if you have a lab, it has a very particular purpose. And A, it needs to be fucking sterile. And B, it just has to function correctly. Right. So that you're not like going over your, you know, crossing like air paths with pathogens and so on and so forth. You got to be very deliberate about your movements. Right. It's this very kinesthetic and Taoist sort of, I don't know, adaptation to how you're doing everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know the word knoll?
K-N?
K-N-O-L-L.
I feel like I should. Knoll's Mechanical. They do a lot of our refrigeration.
I think that's a family name.
No, I don't. What's the word?
It's
knoll?
It's when you lay your things out. So, you know, the scene with the surgeon in the movie when they have like all the scalpels lined up and everything is to hand.
That's called a knoll?
It's called to knoll your things, yeah.
To knoll your things.
Yeah, and it's a very meditative thing. Right? Like I'm about to do some hard shit. Yeah. I'm about to do some precise shit. I can't be, you know, feeling around in the dark for my things. Yeah. Anyway, it's one of the, like when I know I'm about to do something that's a little hard. I'll clean my area and I'll knoll.
Just organize.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing. I never even knew that had a term. I just thought I was being, this is like, I got to work on this painting and I'm going to clean my house first. So that's like passive knolling. I got to do laundry actually too. So fuck,
Right. I think that's called procrastinating.
Oh shit. Whatever.
That does have a word.
Oh, fuck. Good thing I never learned English. No.
Yeah.
That's funny. Cisco and I were just talking about that. The amount of people that he knows and I don't know who had this certain period in time where they didn't have to learn to read or write. Yet they made it in the world completely, utterly alone, figured it out, and were most likely really successful. Yeah, right. And still to this day, they can be like 50, 60, 70 years old. They still know how to write or read.
Right. Remember that was a big deal like when we were younger. Do you remember? Yeah, they have like made for TV movies about it.
Yeah.
You know, like Dad has a secret.
Yeah. It's embarrassing, but it's like at the same time, is it? And can you adapt to doing that later in life? Right. That's like, it's fascinating because when you think about your time as a human and all of the things that you pick up in the path you take, if you're like an overtly creative and gear grindery person, you're going to do it all anyways, you know, but, what is it that person didn't do that and then just never had to, they just kept going.
Or they came up with other skills that were almost harder than reading. You know, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Knowing how to navigate without signs, or at least recognizing the signs as being the sign that was before the turn without actually knowing what it said, you know.
Like, you have to be largely visual. Yeah. And you have to force that version of your brain in order to like cope
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas we take it for granted. I mean, I still kind of almost got lost getting up here.
I almost asked you if you knew where
for Richmond.
Oh, this is like the dead end. If you hit the toll, you just went too far.
Yeah. No, I always remember the Gosling insurance.
Oh yeah. Yep. That'll keep everybody on track.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it even Goslin Insurance anymore? I guess it is.
Yeah, I've got a great big sign. Well, I made it here, so yeah.
You found it. Yeah. Well, it's amazing how you have landmarks and they can change, or the building is not like in Portland too. You go down there now and you're like, man, I don't know where I am. I know where I am. I'm definitely on India Street, but this doesn't look like India Street anymore, or whatever it is.
Yeah. It's almost like you traveled into the future or something.
Yeah.
You're waiting for like the hover car to drive by. Like, where the fuck?
It's very true.
Very true. The city's changing so fast.
It is. I remember going into like all the bookstores there for a while. I was like, coming from the art, letterpress, poetry world. So you seek those books out in all the different bookstores that were around town. And then it was mushrooms. And then you start like looking for every little mushroom section, which were never there, and then you found like the one weird psychedelic book or whatever it was, Yeah. But it's a strange town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one. It's still weird, but slowly changing. So yeah. But that's the way it goes, I guess.
Can't be the same forever. I remember moving up there. My mom was like, what the fuck are you doing moving to Portland?
Right, there's nothing there.
She's like, it was burnt out when I was playing in bands there, and it can't be any better now. And I was like, seems pretty good.
I know. People wax poetic about those glory days now. So,
Yep.
My first apartment was $150 and I had a view of the water.
What's funny is like I didn't really take it at all serious. I might have told you this story, but I didn't, you don't really like anticipate like your even your parents' past coming back to you in some fashion. And it gets weird when it does. But when I got that job delivering for Native Maine.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
This dude worked there named Tom Dolphin, and he knew my mom.
What?
Yeah. And
that's
like,
crazy.
He just like immediately, he was like, your mom and I found a dude who was the bouncer at the Free Street pub. No, it wasn't on Free Street. And he killed himself, and we found him.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you can't be making that up. So I asked her, and she was like, holy shit. She was like, yeah, I remember Tom. And I was like, God. What in the fuck? So like, they were just like, it was just, I don't think I ever talked to Tom much after that. It was too weird. It was like bridging a gap in time that I shouldn't have been in. Right. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, that's really funny.
Portland has that ghosty side to it.
Yeah.
A lot's happened there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely true. Was it the Free Street Taverna?
It was called the Free Street Pub. And I think it was like where Trader Joe's is, oddly enough.
Oh, weird.
Like way down there. Because my mom was like, yeah, I used to ride my Yamaha Harley down there and play with the band. And, I'd rip around Portland all day.
Yeah.
Play music at night. And then we'd be off and we'd do the whole music circuit up Maine, down to Canada and back down. Because she was in a Styx cover band. Called the Renegade.
That's cool.
Yes. Nothing is fucking cooler. Yeah. No. It's funny. Oh yeah. No, she was in this band. And so like you hear these stories and you live in a place where somebody once lived. And then you're like acquainted with people from their past and you're like, this got so out of hand so fast.
Well, it's crazy. I did a art series on John Wilkes Booth and Lincoln. And I just like went deep into a bunch of these photographs of the inauguration and, other random things. And I found out that John Wilkes Booth had stayed at it was a hotel. All those buildings were hotels at one point in time. Yeah. But he had stayed in the hotel that's on the corner of Oak Street and Free Street.
Yeah.
Kind of across the street from, the diagonal from the Free Street Taverna. And I was just like, holy shit.
Places have ghosts.
Yeah. Places have ghosts. Yeah. And, and people moved around and it's all, I don't know. It's all sort of just there. I mean, it's not here as much as it is in Europe. You know what I mean? Like you go to Europe and you walk down a street in Florence and you're like... You
kind of expect it there.
Yeah, right. But here you don't.
No.
Yeah.
So when it shows up, it's utterly strange.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Of course somebody that was important
Yeah.
stayed in this room or walk down this hallway or walk down this street.
Yeah.
I always get sort of the chills.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when I find that kind of stuff.
I was talking to Neil from Columbia Mushroom Company, and he lives out in Oregon, right on the Columbia River. And he's not far from like the only place I ever really went in Oregon and spent time was Mount Hood. So he's not far from there. And the hotel in front of Mount Hood is where they filmed the exterior shots of The Shining.
Totally been to that hotel.
It's a pretty cool hotel.
It is so beautiful.
Yeah. It's
inside
awesome.
is crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a funny story about that very hotel, but go ahead, keep talking.
No, I was just going to say that the weird part is you go in there and it's not where they filmed The Shining, like the interior shots at all, but they had to get rid of room 237 in order to stop people from asking for the fucking room.
Oh,
so just the idea that something might have been there that isn't there anymore indicates that you can make up the ghosts, you know? Yeah. So like it's all just in your head. It's all this incepted sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's cool.
Incepted. That's a good word for it. Yeah.
Great movie too.
Yeah. Christopher and I went, we actually spent a lot of time out there, and I wanted to go there because of The Shining. It's my favorite book. And we're driving up, and we see this. We know there was snow on the ground, and we see that there was this couple that had broken down on the side of the road on one of these turnoffs. And so we pulled over and asked them if they needed any help. And of course, it was weird. They borrowed our cell phone because we had one and they didn't. Yeah. Because it was back when it was kind of rare to have cell phones.
You guys are just immediately those techie people.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess we were. They didn't have one, we did. I'm trying to think of what year it was. Anyway, it was long enough ago that it wouldn't have it wasn't weird to loan someone our cell phone. Yeah. Because it was our phone, it called the Portland, Maine AAA. Yeah. And so, anyway, not that interesting of a story, except that it was like, it's not that interesting a story.
It's a killer story. It's like a Mitch Hedberg joke, you know? Where he like gets lost halfway through the joke and he's like, there's something else there.
There was something else there. Anyway, it took us a long time to figure out that they were in the wrong Portland.
Fuck.
Not that interesting of a story, but they owned a club that was a lot like Space Gallery, and they invited us because we stopped. They invited us to go out to this, what turns out to be a somewhat famous club on an island in the middle of the river.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and we never ended up going. But
that area is so big and blown out in my mind that every time that I've been there, it's just too big. Like everything is bigger. The trees, the rivers, the
bigger,
animals.
The mountains are bigger. Yeah, the plants, even like plants that I grow, are bigger there.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that was what that plant was supposed to look like. Yeah.
It's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Their
mushrooms are bigger.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man.
Yeah. The only time I've ever found maitakes
was out there.
Was out there, and it was I don't know if it was just a fluke thing, but we went for a walk. I think Mount Rainier.
Oh, yeah.
They were just everywhere. I could smell it in the air. So my brother goes back there every year now, and he picks the maitake mushrooms.
Does he really?
I'm sorry, matsutake mushrooms.
Oh, matsutakes.
Matsutakes, yeah.
Okay, I was going to say you can smell those from miles away. You can like sniff your way to them.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. But
there's something inherently specific about smells and mushrooms and the way that they grow, because the ones you can smell are really hard to find. Like matsutakes don't just like rear their head up and they're like, look at me, you know? Except
when they do.
Yeah.
And then you're like, are those? And then you're like, no mistaking it.
No mistaking.
That is them. And now I'm going to smell like icy hats and gym socks all the way home and be glad for it.
Yeah, matsutakes are strange. Mushroom names are strange. I keep like, Ethan's always listening to that last podcast on the left, and he was listening to, I forget who like Hitler's crazy psychotic human was that like did most of the torture and madness and mayhem.
I don't know.
It's some name, but it's like this 3-part episode. And once again, I'm losing the same thing you just lost. I'm like, where the fuck was the story going? It was something so specific. It was something specific to names.
Mushroom names.
Yeah, so
Mushroom names are so cool.
Oh, so this guy's name was coined after trials and so on and so forth because he was the evil human that he was. He was called Angel of Death. That was his nickname. Really? I'm trying to think of the guy's name. It doesn't matter. He's a fucking asshole German dude. Right. Right. But you wonder after you look through you look through one of those Audubon Society guides and you're like, who the fuck named all these mushrooms? Like common names. Yeah. It's all bullshit, unless it has an origin like Matsutake or Maitake that means something in a different language. Right. Angel of Death, where the fuck? Like, I get it, you know, but like, was it named after him? When was that published? Who decided to do that?
Yeah. Well, I think they're colloquial names. And it was just sort of the battle of which colloquial name got published first, Yeah,
maybe it was because there's just so many being discovered and organized at once.
Right. I mean, you don't forget. I mean, if you're teaching your kids which one's not to eat, Angel of Death is pretty.
It's the one.
Don't eat that one. Which one? The one that looks like an angel. Why? Because it's death.
It'll kill you.
Yeah, exactly. Though there are some funny ones that, they have like nice names. And then, and then you read about all the ways in which people bleed out of your orifices if you eat them. Like, why didn't you just? Oh, there is Satan's bully, but that's true. All the deadly ones should be like
truly deadly names. Yeah. At least deadly common names.
You will shit your kidneys.
Yeah.
No, kidney shitter.
I called you when I ate the Amanita Caesar, right? Out in Arizona.
Oh, yeah, that's
Remember
right.
That? Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought that shit at a farmer's market. Yeah. And we were like just building out the mushroom farm there. And I was like, I don't fucking know. Yeah. I don't even remember what you said. I was all hot and sweaty and I was like, I might die. I should probably text Lisa.
You did. I'm like, do you know the person you got it from and you're going to eat it?
But I said no, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, at the farmer's market. That's legit, right?
No, because that was the first question we all had, which a lot of mushroom farms from the early 2000s had, which were like, why is nobody doing this at the mushroom farm, Yeah. But people still try to assert themselves now, especially in that world where they're like, you have to get my license in order to sell these mushrooms, at this place. Mm-hmm. It's all stupid, but regulations.
Yeah. Yeah. People are still really scared of mushrooms. Well, not because they're scary for good reason. They're scary things.
You were the one that told me about the, I guess it's a chart they have in the ER, right? Where it's like, depending upon I think it was you that told me this. Maybe I'm making it up. But you were saying like, there's different levels of like things that will, they'll say, okay, if you ate this, chances are this will happen. But the last one, it just said, just make comfortable.
Oh, no, that wasn't me.
That wasn't you?
No.
Shit. Okay.
But that's definitely something I'm going to hold on to now. Like it was my own.
Might as well own it.
Yeah.
I'm going to blame it all. Yeah. But that's
very practical.
Right?
That's very practical. Yeah.
Like it's very clinical because you're just like, okay.
Just make comfortable.
There's no way you're coming out of that.
Was that the Amanitas?
Yeah. I think it was Amanita and then it was like specifically the Angel of Death. Yeah. And then I feel like there's another couple ones on there, but that one's definitely like the one that you're done.
Yeah.
We can find a vaccine for Corona, but we can't revert the Angel of fucking Death.
Well, yeah. I mean, what is it? The Amanita neurotoxin.
Yeah.
I mean, they named the toxin after the mushroom. That mushroom's not fucking around. Yeah. No. I mean, I wonder about those incredibly intense. It was Michael Pollan who wrote that, somewhat esoteric piece about, are we cultivating the mushrooms or the mushrooms cultivating us?
Yeah.
And he even, went so far as to make the leap that
this is the How to Change Your Mind book that he wrote, or is something smaller?
I didn't read the book. It was there's an article and there was a podcast that I listened to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that he was talking about.
He fell head over heels for mushrooms.
He fell head over heels for mushrooms and psilocybins in particular.
Yeah.
The fact that the way that it makes you feel, you just have to wonder how long we've been seeking out psilocybin mushrooms and having these spiritual, mind-opening quests with these mushrooms, and you have to wonder which came first.
Yeah,
the whatever that is that makes us have that happy feeling, did that come first? Did we come first? Or did it something that they were like, humans, the monkeys really like this.
Yeah.
And so they made it better so that we would propagate them more.
Yeah.
That's like such a fascinating a fascinating idea. And so you have to wonder about the really poisonous ones, and that
why are they there?
Yeah. And is it possible that the faster you die, the quicker you rot on the ground where you ate the mushrooms, which makes food for the mushrooms? Like, is there something there?
Is there a connection? Yeah.
That would make us lower on the food chain than the mushrooms. If that's correct, we would be, it would be stalking us,
The food chain is an interesting concept because it is esoteric.
Right.
There's nothing normal about the food chain.
Right. Right.
It's purely conjecture based on a real analysis, but it still seems very mythologically based.
The food chain?
Yeah, because if you think about it, it's just like that. If you start thinking about mushrooms seeking out humans to eat and kill,
right,
then it is esoteric as fuck.
That's true.
Are mushrooms the mass murderers?
Right. Well, is there some level of intention, on some level that we can't really understand?
Yep.
That's actually just very practical.
Yeah.
Evolutionary, the Venus flytrap, in a way. You can eat some of us, but you're not sure which ones.
It's true.
Come on and try me.
It's spacey stuff. Occasionally, the car guys come over from EJP, and the car collection tends to that's in this building it's just the weirdest people who how they get in there. And it's today it was two dudes who they do the roll up doors for all of EJP, which is this massive pipe work company, plastic pipe work company. And so they get a tour of the cars, and I get a call from Kelsey, and I'm sitting here working on something. She's like, "Hey, Adam's here, and he has a question for you," which just means two people are here I don't want to talk to. Please give them a quick tour. So I was like, okay. So I go down there, and they're they just want to know what this is. And I felt very speedy today. So I gave them the hyperactive, every word was rolling off of my tongue in Latin derivative craziness. And they were just staring at me bug-eyed. And then I would pop in alien or dog poop or some other weird word that tied in a normal thing. And then they would crack a smile. But it makes you realize how esoteric the mushroom world is to people that are just what in the fuck?
Yeah. Right.
I gave him a reishi block, and I was just let it grow on your counter. And he's like, and then do what? I'm not eating that fucking thing. And I was just don't eat it then.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you that it tastes like shit and it's like wood, but
Actually, rishi's delicious.
The tip, right?
The tip. It's probably the most complex umami I have ever tasted.
Really?
Yeah. You have to get it when it's just white.
Yeah.
Snip it off. And it's rubbery. You don't want to chew it, but if you throw it in a stock, it's better
good.
than bone broth. It's just an incredibly whatever concentration of glutamates that it has is pretty
insane.
Amazing. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite.
I feel like
things.
I've tried it raw once or twice and been I regret that.
Yeah, no, not pleasant. But it's just purely as a bouillon. It's like nature's bouillon.
That's so wild.
Shave it off. I haven't tried it from your blocks yet. I mostly just harvest it because it's easy to find in the woods.
Yeah.
I mostly just harvest it in the spring after it's put those fresh ones out with that fresh white rind and just the rind.
They grow fast in the wild. It always actually amazes me how fast those conical, hard-shelled mushrooms grow.
Yeah.
Outside versus inside. That's a 4-month mushroom.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah.
It takes a while.
Huh. Yeah.
Especially if you want it to form that kidney bean shape,
Right. Yeah.
It's a peculiar one.
It is definitely. It's one of those ones I want to draw, but when I draw it, it's it's it looks like it's scene from an alien.
Yeah. I still like the black trumpet that you did a print of. I don't remember if that was part of anything other than just doing a black trumpet print.
I've been meaning to do a found it and ate it series.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where if I found it and ate it, I did a picture of it, and then I was thinking about Audubon doing a quick description of what I did with it, what it tasted like.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah, underneath it, but I never got around to it.
Well, you should do it, and then we'll just put it out there. It's a cap and stem related thing.
Yeah, I've been learning engraving, and so I think it might be a sweet set of engravings.
That's cool.
Yeah. Mushrooms are really interesting forms to draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you know. So yeah.
They're just alien, you know. They're funny shapes of water, but they're it's wild that something can form that way that fast and that continuously.
Yeah, yeah, and they have so many different meanings, you know.
Yeah. I was reading that. It's this one. We've been adding this mythological side to.
It's a whole book on Rishi?
Holy shit, that book is
crazy town.
It's insane. It's a good one. Feel free to borrow it, but it's like
people listening. It's Rishi Mushroom, Herb of Spiritual Potency and Medical Wonder by Terry Willard, PhD.
Yeah, that cat went over and basically started researching, you know, as far back as he could for mostly like Chinese herbs and medicine, and then got head over heels in the Rishi because it kept going down these different paths of conversation with, you know, old masters of things. And they speak a lot about like ancient Taoists and such in there, but some of the stories are fucking on point and super interesting, mythologically based. They're so cool. Like there's a story in there about how all these ancient Taoists went buck wild trying to find out what mushroom this was after they heard tales of a massacre in which ravens came in with something in their beaks, and then they landed on the dead people and dropped this like, you know, antlerish formation on top of the faces of the dead slain people, and they immediately rose up. And it's in the beginning of that book. And good luck finding it.
That's rad. Oh, I love that story. That's beautiful.
There's so much in there. And upon people seeing this and hearing about the documentation of it, these certain Taoists were like finding these different mushrooms and trying to figure out what they were. And that goes further into it. Like red means certain things in Chinese, like literally, like by definition. And it's connected to soul and like the search for many different weird things in there. But it sort of like ties in the mythological stuff in the evolution of people's perceptions of this like elixir search, you know, and it's interesting. That stuff goes really far back, and it's not always connected to the psychedelic side.
Right.
It's not always a 120-minute ad for Paul Stamets. You know? Like, sometimes it's way more.
This is actually secretly a 120-minute ad for Paul Stamets.
It is, yeah. God bless you, Paul. You know, the people who actually come in here and see like all the Photoshop shit that like Mark and Mike used to do of like my face superimposed on Paul, I'm like, they can't stop laughing. They're like, why the fuck didn't we think of that? Yeah, there's none in here. There will never be. Yeah. I didn't ask for that.
These are beautiful.
They really are.
So yeah, Rishi mushrooms are probably the coolest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's lacquer. It has a lacquer. It's shiny and that weird color red. And in the spring, they're just so beautiful with that bright white rind.
Yep.
Mushrooms are cool.
There's a student artist that came up here from Montserrat a little while back. And he doesn't belong in Montserrat. He's not like an art school kid. He's like, you know, it's one of those people who like the concept of art school makes so much sense. And it's the people you're after and it's the crowd you're after because your exposure before you go into like a college setting.
Sure.
And he called because everybody, I guess, in Montserrat knows what I do now. And they're like, well, he's the only fucking dude. Go ask him.
Yeah.
So he calls me up and he's talking, and I do feel like art school was the right spot for me. I don't feel like I should have been at MIT or anything.
Right.
And this kid belongs at MIT. And we're talking about building things out of mushroom mycelium. And, you know, Rishi's one of the ones that they use at like MycoWizards to make the vegan mushroom, fancy leathers and shit, which is a cool concept. So he was trying to understand those things, understand how to make formations using, you know, the sort of blocks and stuff and crushing them and filling them. So I asked him, you know, what he had done so far. And one of the first conversations I had with him over the phone, he said, well, I basically just cloned some wild mushrooms and had been growing them out, and I've been making blocks and these different shapes with them. And I was like, what, you know, and I brought up the Rishi because I was like, what kind of mushroom did you clone? He was like, the white one that kills everybody. And I was like, you're making furniture out of the destroyer angel of death, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And he was like, yeah, why? And I was like, you don't see what's cool about that, like, at all. You know, you're not like, oh, look what I'm doing. For me, I like thought about it for like days. I was like, this is so fucking gnarly.
Right.
I mean, it like begs questions with no answers, and it begs this like interesting like conversation between mycophobic people and how they perceive of it. If they sit down on a chair made of fucking the death cap, you're like, what? You know, like
I'm surprised that he's able to get such a solid substrate from
so was a
mushroom that can grow. It's basically isn't it an earth-based mushroom?
Yeah.
Weird.
He said what's very interesting about that, and he was just sort of describing it to me, is it is the most vigorous culture, more vigorous than any commercial oyster or anything that like we or other people have given him, you know. He's like, it's fucking nuts. And I was like, huh,
that makes sense. I feel like when I'm out foraging, it's the one I always find. It's like, just another angel of death.
Right, but who the fuck is gonna clone that? This dude didn't even, I was like, whoa.
No, it's true. Right.
I don't know.
That's the can't pick it, kick it thing. Sort of this useless mushroom, but
and I think he knew that, but when you put it in an art setting, and this is where I say he doesn't belong in art school, because he's too smart to like think of the like far out. The sociological implications of that are far out. I wonder
how Rusula's would do, or any of those other ones that seem to be so prolific no matter what the weather.
They're just always there. I never expected that. It makes me want to play around with that mycelium now in some level. And just sort of understand it. And,
well, there's just so much we don't know, right? Like, that's kind of what's so exciting. It's this frontier, right? And eventually, you know, we'll get far enough into that frontier to be like, okay, now the stuff to discover is just sort of like these micro things. But with mushrooms, it doesn't seem like that. It seems like it's just such a massive genus. Is that the right word? Genus of
kingdom.
Of it's a kingdom. It's a massive kingdom, bigger than we are. That functions. That functions on a level that we haven't really figured out yet. And we can eat them. You know.
We're cannibalistic in some nature with them because we're just so aligned with them on like a timeline. I was explaining that to the roll-up door guys. And they were like, it's very easy for me to like talk too fast being not from Maine. So I slowed down for a minute and I said something along the lines of, and I don't remember what spurred it. They asked something and I was like, well, basically CO2. I was like, you know, we produce CO2. These things produce CO2. Plants don't. I was like, so that immediately puts us on something that produces something but needs something else, you know? And that exchange is a very interesting concept. And if you look at what this thing produces, CO2 wise, and you think that 20,000 parts per million is a lot, go breathe on a CO2 meter. I was like, you produce that much CO2, you know? So we have this funny concept with like, you know, how bad CO2 is for the world and this, that, and the other, and gas emissions. Just breathe into a CO2 meter.
I never even thought of that.
It's fascinating, you know? So we're not that far off. Just metabolically, how we alter substances for our own benefit is inherent with that. Plants can't do that, you know, not at all. So it's kind of cool. They're strange creatures. The thing that blew my mind was that they're, I mean, this is something that's so obvious to you now, but that they're sexually reproducing. And so they're still like within their own, you know, within their own species, they're constantly evolving at a rapid pace. And so, you know, I'm out foraging and I find, you know, one random chanterelle that is slightly whiter or slightly peachier than the rest of the ones that were there. Or I found the black chanterelles once it was actually in a very large patch of black trumpets, and I found this black trumpet that was just wrong, and it actually kind of made me nervous because it was so different than the black trumpets. And then it dawned on me that it wasn't a black trumpet, it was a black chanterelle. And I was just like, how did this get here doing what it is, doing what it's doing? You know, I don't know. I think that's
That's sort of a fascinating thing about it. And then you guys you're cultivating these mushrooms, and even the reishi, they don't look anything like the ones I'm finding out in the woods, or your lion's mane. They don't look anything like the ones I'm finding out in the woods. Right. And so now that we're interfering with this, what are we going to discover?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of like what I was saying right when we started talking was the Andrew Collar-Reed factor. You're taking these baseline technologies for being covert about your psychedelic growing, and you're negating them when you get into the gourmets, because all of a sudden you're comfortable carrying cultures around and trading cultures and shipping things and blah blah blah, but you forget that covert nature is very mushroom like, and you can just take something as simple as spore syringes and fucking make an immense amount of options, right and nobody's really doing that. It takes so much time and effort, but it's also like half of the experimentation that's fun that is completely out of your control. It's like acid etching, like in art, you don't know what the fuck you're going to get, it's it's not a deliberate etching, not screen printing.
Can you reverse engineer those? Should you get something, an oyster that tastes like strawberries? Like, should you accidentally stumble on some gene connection that you unlocked? Can you reverse engineer back to that? Or is it like that purple
I think it's like the purple oyster. Yeah. It's interesting. I would have to ask him, because he's been far more invested in that side of the world. And I've been way more, like, how do I get everybody to grow mushrooms? Which is ridiculous to think that there's two completely different directions to go just on that level. But yeah, I think that you can kind of go backwards. You can do DNA sequencing and you can compare these different things with mass spectrometers and such. But what is it telling you? I think the best part about this stuff is the fact that you can contain it and you can control it and you can preserve it to a point, but it's not like plants that are thriving for the cloning factor. They don't actually want that, at all. And that's because it's the opposite thing. We always want to preserve the perfect tomato, think of monster Maine tomatoes, that concept is irrelevant to like mushrooms in the way that they grow. Right. They don't care about that. They care about creating diversity. They don't care about preserving a single phenotype, which is the billion spores to one cap thing. Right.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing that you guys are fooling around with. Yeah. I mean, it's even interesting that you call yourselves a farm.
We're not. Yeah. What are we?
Yeah.
We're mushroom wizards.
Yeah, because farm isn't, when I talk about, what this thing is to other people, like, oh yeah, and by the way, there's this mushroom farm. They picture like idyllic rolling hills, little gnomes going and picking the mushrooms. And even though that's not that far off. It's not manufacturing. No. It's not. It's just this grand experiment, right? And then
it's existential as shit.
Byproduct of fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've since being in art school been fascinated with, and I talk about it constantly to people who actually listen or care to at all. Yeah. But the concept of negative capability, right? And that concept is very simple, and it's just like to be in the midst of things and not try to control it, but just to see what's there and like let things sort of happen without being bothered by them. And I think that's partially what this is like there's the variables run rampant. So like the minute you try to squash one thing out, if you're a very controlling person, you have no business here. Right. You're just never going to make it. Right. Because it's not a observe and react and report and adjust and move around. So it fits my personality of like constant gear, tinker, move, adjust, see, Right. It's that observation thing that a lot of people don't. They're like terrified of things that are very unstable. This is the inevitably unstable business model,
Right. Yeah, no, it's true. And it's a living organism.
Yeah.
And it's a crop, but it's also in a warehouse.
Yeah.
It's funny just being tuned in to Christopher. He's constantly checking the temperature. He's constantly, going to bed at night and checking to see what the temperature is going to drop down to, or what it's going to increase to, because you've created a nursery. It's a nursery in a sense that this box is that's growing these mushrooms. We were talking about it the other night, and I was like, most plants have an ideal habitat.
Yeah.
Right? But mushrooms don't.
No.
Like, there isn't like a land of mushrooms. And there are places that are more ideal, like the Pacific Northwest, but it's really that most places in the world have brief, not seasons, but like tiny windows every couple of years.
Yeah.
That one species of mushrooms finds, 1 or 30 species of mushrooms find the ideal. And so maybe this year it's chanterelles and black trumpets and whatever else happens to like.
You wonder if it's like
that weather.
You wonder if it's implicit to reaction, or if it's 100% predictive. Like, I wonder if mushrooms inherently know those things futuristically, can they see the future sort of thing?
Right.
Sounds ridiculous, but can you tell via your integration into the earth and the mind works of, geography, what's going to happen next year? And do you react accordingly? Is it sort of predestined in that manner to say this year's a chanterelle season, this year's a black trumpet season,
Yeah.
It's a funny thought to think about, but the fact of the matter is it's everywhere.
Right.
And why wouldn't it have that knowledge?
Right.
So it's bizarre. Maybe that's why we interact with it the way we do.
Yeah.
Not to get too far out about it, because I'm really not that intrigued by like the too far out conversations. But it seems like that they know something we don't.
Or maybe they're just winging it too. I don't know. Like, hope it rains.
Yeah.
That's been raining a long time.
That's true.
I really hope it rains.
Yeah, maybe they are.
So I don't know. Yeah. So there's just how long have we been mushroom farming? No, I mean like not us.
Species. Yeah.
Yeah. How long? I mean, when did we first cultivate mushrooms?
Well, it's like, how far back can you go? Because like ancient Egypt definitely cultivated mushrooms.
Were they really?
Yeah. Look at hieroglyphs. Baskets of mushrooms, like shapes of mushrooms coming out of them.
So what do you think they did? Just like scooped up the earth in a place that they found it? Or do you think they understood spore? This
is the like bizarre part, right? Like you can go pretty far back with this stuff. The Bhagavad Gita, right? It's like this ancient text. It's all Sanskrit.
Could you say it again?
The Bhagavad Gita.
Say it one more time.
Bhagavad Gita.
Say it again.
It's a good one.
Such a good word.
The Bhagavad Gita. It's a phenomenal text, but you read it and it's allegedly like this ancient script, and when it was written, the primary people on the planet were very, what's the word? They're ramblers, they're completely transient nomads. Yeah. That concept of like settlement it's not realistic yet, So this stuff is basically describing things that are essentially like nuclear war, nuclear fallout. You read about this stuff, read this shit, and this is an actual ancient, sort of text. And it's one of the earliest forms of like written from verbalization, totally documented and put out there. So if we want to believe in the ancient alien factor, it sort of is implicit that we think about them like us. How many times have we misplaced, forgotten about, and then rediscovered recipes for things like napalm or like whatever? We do that. We have very small minds. Humans have evolved in this bizarre way that they don't have the cognitive capacity to sort of like keep history with them whatsoever. I can't remember what I ate. I have terrible short-term memory, blame it on weed, blame it on whatever. But still, I have the long-term memory. Pork chowder.
Corn chowder.
Corn chowder. I was like, pork chowder? Sweet.
That sounds really good.
It does. But you read these things like the Bhagavad Gita and you wonder, how long have we been doing this? Like, how long have we forgotten and repeated and forgotten and repeated? And we know the term like history repeats itself, but have we gotten to that point in which we can say, people definitely knew how to do this a long time ago.
Right.
So we have to go back to those ancient artifacts and think about like the term soma came from not fucking Aldous Huxley. It came from the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, wow.
So like there was this idea of what soma was, you know, in all these ancient Rig Veda texts. And those Sanskrit deviations of something that had this like power, this power plant is so inherent in our like our whatever human going that far back that who the fuck knows? Modern times, you know, there's, you know, we can go back as far as we can remember research and like document and how we believe something to be real, photographic evidence or written evidence or whatever. But I think it's been a long fucking time. And I don't think we've made it very far. You watch like videos from the 50s. You sent me that killer video of like people mushroom farming in Pennsylvania in the 50s.
It was like a paths. It was like a paths video.
Yeah. They're doing the same thing we're doing.
Yeah.
We have not changed that much in terms of our interaction with these mushrooms.
Right.
Which makes me really think that inherently it's very connective oriented.
Yeah, right.
We know that that's food. We know that it's something that we can't push too far. And at the end of the day, we've forgotten about it time and time again.
Right.
Because if you think back to like, not even ancient China, but like early, however you call it, like BCE now, the reason that we strike logs for like shiitake growing is because we forgot what spores were. We didn't know what the fuck spores were. Right. We just knew that if you smacked logs of shiitakes on them near other logs that didn't have anything on them, the spores landed on the logs, germinated, and colonized the logs.
Oh.
It was magic.
Yeah.
Utter fucking magic.
Yeah.
So people ask why? Why did you smack the shit out of logs? Because you didn't know what the fuck spores were.
Right.
We definitely knew before. You know? Right. So you wonder like how far that goes back.
Right. Or how specific the knowledge was.
Yeah.
Was it the ritual of smacking the log, or did they actually understand that they were releasing something?
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to the mushroom thing too. Like when I think about chanterelles always grow on the edge of the path.
Yeah.
Right. And
they lure you in.
They lure you into the woods. And inevitably you walk back to the path and you find some more. And you realize that, you know, in an interesting way, it feels as though they're flirting with you on some level or another. They want to be found. And then I start thinking about my basket, right? This open weave thing. I'm walking with my basket that I've walked for my spots, that I've harvested my chanterelles for, you know, the past decade. And I have to wonder, you know, how many, you know, of these that are popping up now potentially were me finding them in the past. And if that isn't likely, then maybe it wasn't me. Maybe it was somebody walking that same path, finding the mushrooms. And so you have to wonder, you know, who made that path, you know? Because there's definitely an interesting symbiosis going on there.
Yeah. Reading geography, like you can tell by stone walls if something was pasture versus if it was for farming.
Right.
I think you pointed that out a long time ago. Like I don't know why I point everything to you. Maybe it's because you are. You better own it.
I just make up really good bullshit.
Well, you said like when we were talking before about like a memory, like you have really good long-term memory or short-term memory.
Wonderful short-term memory. Yeah.
And I'm polar opposite. I will not remember anything of this conversation until longer. Yeah. Huh. I can't do it. And short-term memory is like an anomaly to me, just like Christopher recounting a whole story from 10 years ago is an anomaly to you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why I don't got it. I
don't know why either. Yeah. I feel bad. I asked Kate like the same question 3 times today and she's like, I'm not answering that one again. And I was like, I had this moment where I felt really bad. I was like, I'm fucking broken. I don't know what you were making for dinner. I can't remember. I'm so sorry. Yeah. But you know, you're either one way or another.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's why the split in sort of how people remember things and conceptualize things is also inherent to why we lose track of these concepts like growing or, you know, growing along or making a path and why the mushrooms are still there, you know? Right.
Well, what's funny is that I can remember my mushroom spots better than I can remember going foraging.
Yeah.
Like I'll be walking in the woods and I'll look around and go, oh, this is where I found, that lion's mane in the tree that time.
Yeah.
And I remember it so clearly. I could taste it.
Yeah.
But we were talking about that. That too. That something that I find fascinating about foraging is when you're finding food, your brain goes into this auto record mode.
Yeah.
Because it is taking note. When you find food, it is taking note of some really crucial information.
Yeah. And
even if I'm in that spot in wintertime, like I remember, like I know exactly where I am. But it is interesting, like, again, it was something I read somewhere that I've long since forgotten. But I was reading that this is something that grocery stores take advantage of.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you're in that, this might have been Michael Pollan.
This is the Michael Pollan thing. Yeah.
This is the Michael Pollan thing. And then when you go into the grocery store and you're in that, can I eat it? Can I not? Can I eat it?
Yeah.
Your brain is always sort of doing this. This is safe to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. These two colors together, the way this intersection of the grocery store, with the oranges over there, tells me that this thing that I'm purchasing here, that's safe. And it throws me off. When a grocery store rearranges the aisles.
Oh, dude, it fucks you up.
I get so inordinately upset about it.
Have you ever been to a place like an island grocery store or like the place that happened to me was West Texas somewhere. And we were hitchhiking through God knows what. Mm-hmm. And this is on the way back. Mm-hmm. And I think, I don't remember where we landed, but there was a little like store and a bunch of shit that was closed and just desert for miles. But I went into the store and like nothing was where it should have been.
Yeah.
Like
right.
Produce was in aisles and it was like just fucking not well thought out.
Yeah.
And it was as if all this happened by accident.
Yeah.
And it was just because it's the only thing.
Yeah.
It didn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
You can look for bananas next to Oreos. Who the fuck cares? It's small enough.
Right.
That doesn't upset me nearly as much as when fucking Hannaford like moves produce from the left to the right of the building. You're like,
right.
Why?
Yeah. Right. And I think it taps into that, right? It has a, whether you know it or not, there's a little, danger meter happening in the back of your brain that's going,
why did this change?
Especially now, during COVID, where going to the grocery store is probably the most dangerous thing I do in a day.
Or Home Depot or anywhere.
Yeah. And especially with the way that it's tied up with food.
Yeah.
And the anxiety of being in the grocery store. I don't know if it's more primal or less primal, but
I think for people like you guys are sort of stuck, where you're at because of the proximity to options and like you have to drive to go to a farm stand or something. But I don't. The amount of stuff you can get around here without going in a store is huge. What
do you mean? Like, how do you?
Like, you can just get chicken from, a farm down the road, or you can go to Sheepskid, or you can whatever, and you're going to see 4 people.
Right.
You're not going to see 150 people in the minute you're in there. So your like proximity to populace is so much less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's strange times. Definitely strange times.
Yeah.
But, and the fact that it's so, you have to do it. You have to go in public to find food.
It's definitely making me want to forage more this coming summer for some reason. I've gotten out of it for so long. I think it's something you do for a long time, and then you don't get tired of it, but it's like these things hurt your ears after a while.
They do, yeah.
Yeah. You got to get other ones that are a little more comfortable. But
I think we've had a bunch of. It's been good 5 years of pretty dud seasons, and I think even so it's almost not worth going out. So you're waiting, and then you could go out and you spend 3 hours out in the woods and you find like a tiny little handful of dried up
two chanterelles. Yeah. You're like chopping them up and like carefully like cooking them to put them on one slice of fucking toast. And you're like, no.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it might be a global warming thing. It might be, but
there's no rain in the summer anymore.
There's no rain in the summer. It's a really strange thing. And I'm hoping it's just sort of a, just a sort of slow drought that we've been getting. But yeah, when I first started foraging, even in sort of not as good boom years, I'd still find a lot. But I feel like, the past 5 years, it hasn't been the bounty that it kind of was. So, I don't know if it's my anxiety talking or not, but I'm like, are the mushrooms okay?
Yeah.
Are they okay? Are they holding out, waiting for that rainy season to really pop and propagate? So yeah, I mean, there were years where I was just finding so many chicken in the woods.
I associate you and Christopher with bountiful, fresh, like wild mushrooms, like you wouldn't believe, because it was just always there. Every time I was like at a kitchen table or somewhere where you guys were,
pile of something,
fucking piles of chanterelles, piles of black trumpets.
It hasn't been years like that in a long time. And it's also, I mean, I started my own business, so I'm like,
that'll fuck it all up.
I haven't been getting out into the woods as much, so I'm like, there's no mushrooms out there. There's none. It couldn't possibly be me. It's the mushrooms. But
it's true. No, but the woods are suspect too, and they like you also find weird things, like you were just talking about. Like one of the weirdest circumstances. Speaking of paths and like history of spaces and why the continual like cropping of certain mushrooms in certain areas. Every time that I have gone in to what we call the Hobbit lands over in Hollowell, somebody has picked lobster mushrooms and then discarded them along the way. And they're like full on, somebody grabbed them. You can even see the fingerprints in that like glittery fucking orange color.
You take them home?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But like, why did somebody, and this has happened like 3-4 years in a row now, that I've been in the woods around that time. Yeah. And without a doubt, somebody has like picked them and then decided, nah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe they're just trying to spread them because it is that sort of like parasitic fungus that attacks them. I don't know, but
either that or they're like, what is this weird thing that looks like a dead lobster?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it does look like a lobster. And when you find them rotten, they smell like dead lobster too.
They smell terrible.
Yeah. They smell really terrible.
No, I seem to get them like right at the end. So I don't know. It's right after somebody's picked them, but it's funny to like think about the path and then people who were there before and the whole sort of gamut of foraging and who's doing it at the same time.
Right. You think you're the first and the last human that's been there for a long time, but chances are.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know. I think that, but I mean, I've gone for walks in public parks that, hundreds, maybe even thousands of people visited in a day and found crops of mushrooms. And I'm like, really? Of all those people, nobody knew what a chanterelle was? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, good for me.
Good for you. Yeah.
How many people walked by, took a selfie with this beautiful tree filled with sulfur shells and then kept walking, not knowing that shit is the best shake and bake ever.
It's true.
So, yeah. No.
I remember going, the nature, was it Falmouth Nature Preserve where you and I've
There's
gone
some
before.
really good mushrooms there, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The only time that's happened to me, though. Oh, yeah. It's entitled Get Lost in Maine. Yeah.
That's right. It's just mushroom people listening.
Everybody knows it now, too. Yeah. Everybody calls me like, hey, where'd you remember that time we went in the woods there? And I'm like, I don't remember. So sorry. Not like I go there, but
yeah.
But I remember going down. You can take that path to the right that goes almost right down to the bog sort of area.
So I totally pictured that.
You know where it is.
Because I found mushrooms there, probably.
Absolutely. Yeah. Off to the right, you go through those woods that wrap around, and always on that hill, there's always something.
Yeah.
And I knew it and we got there like 20 minutes too late because right as we're coming down that hill and you can see like where it gets kind of piney and weird. Off to the right, this couple's like walking up, super hippie, fucking nice, beautiful, picturesque, Patagonia couple, for fuck's sake. We're walking up with a basket fucking chock full of chanterelles. I just turned around and was like, we're leaving. Kathleen was like, why? And I was like, look. She was like, what the fuck? So you get like inherently mad. You're like, oh, fuck.
That was mine.
That's my dinner.
That was mine. Yeah.
This is competition around
those damn hippies.
Yeah, those damn hippies.
Yeah.
There's a great competition between Damon, who works here at the farm, and his wife, because they just got crossbow hunting licenses, cool. She's gotten like 3 deer and he's gotten like 1. He's like, fuck, like, and they like do the whole thing, venison, like preservation, jerky, everything. And yeah, he's like, you can tell he's bumming, like he's too busy.
Yeah.
It's hard to get into the woods sometimes.
I think this year we're gonna need it. So I
think so too. I've definitely stepped away from going into the woods, but I remember when the pandemic first hit and Kate came up with her kiddo, and we just went to the Hobbit Woods, and it was like the greatest thing ever. It's like the explosiveness of this thing just died away with like the sound of the water, And not enough people get that anymore. We like find our ways to just calm down enough to do the next day.
Right.
You gotta go into the fucking woods.
Yeah. This winter, I think we'll need to. I don't know. We'll go winter camping. I think at least.
Yeah.
Go winter camping.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, this has been fun round 2 for conversating.
Yeah, it has been fun. We didn't talk about how it all started.
No, we didn't. Should we run through it?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So all I have is that initial story, because I didn't know who the fuck anybody was when we moved up here to Portland. And then I ran into Ruben and Diane, and they just they wanted nothing to do with me because it was the letterpress thing.
Right.
All right, get the fuck out of here, you fucking little art kid. Go visit Lisa. So then I rang your infamous esoteric doorbell.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's where my short-term memory failed me.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what happened after that besides moving a press upstairs. So how did this happen?
I don't remember the first conversation. I remember Kathleen because she was just so cool. But I almost remember her the next day more. I remember the two of you the next day. But yeah, you came up. I gave you a tour.
Was it the next day that the press went up?
Yeah, it was. Just coincidentally. I was telling you what we were doing, and I was like, shooting boom, forklift, checking out the window. And you're like, oh, that's so cool. When are you doing that? I'm like, tomorrow at 4:30 in the morning. And you're like, I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure you are, dude.
Yeah.
And you fucking showed up.
Yeah.
Kathleen showed up. Like, did you seriously get so excited about moving presses at 4:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
And I think in that moment, I decided we were friends for life. I'm like, who does that? Who shows up at 4:00 in the morning to help out some weirdo moving presses in the window?
I can't believe Kathleen did, because in all honesty, she was not a morning person.
Yeah, she showed up and she had
fucking
that camera? Well, she had a camera that you looked down.
Oh yeah, she had. Well, it wasn't that one. I just got that. But she had a bunch of. She probably shot film of that.
I think she did. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
No idea where that would have gone.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember you and Kathleen. I remember moving the presses. I remember being really grateful for having you there because
the window had like a 3-foot gap.
The window, yeah, and the guy that I hired, I'm doing air quotes, I hired, nice guy, but a bit cocky.
Yeah.
The forklift. And
I remember him. Yeah.
Charlie.
Yeah. Holy shit, that is his name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was just a lot of scary moving. Anytime you suspend, a couple tons of steel into the air. 3 fucking stories. Yeah. Something's gonna go wrong. Something's gonna go wrong. So yeah, I remember that day.
Yeah.
But how did mushrooms start? Like, was it me first or you first?
Well, Kathleen and I read, I like was well acquainted with the psychedelic stuff, but had never, not once thought about gourmet mushrooms.
Eating,
like, no.
eating foodie ones.
I didn't even fucking know what a shiitake was. Just a white trash kid that you know, knew how to get high.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was never like never the propensity to like push that wasn't really that there, you know? And what's that?
Did you come up here? I mean, come up to the camp?
No. So her and I read an article and it was, you know, it had all the now since sort of subsequent Portland people out of it. It was Greg Marley. It was Rick Tibbetts, and it was Joe from the farm stand in Rosemont and all that. And they were all talking about foraging. And once again, this is pushing the like, you know, you got to have a license to sell this shit. Can't be a drunk fuck coming into a goddamn bar in the middle of the night trying to sell us fucking trails that are going to kill us. And so they're pushing this in the article, and simultaneously in the background, I think Greg Marley was just pushing his book. Dreams.
These mushroom guys were pushing needing a license.
Yeah. Oh, this is the hilarious. Rick Tibbetts factor. This is a dude who I've talked about him too many times, but yeah. He was pushing it. He was trying to make money at any avenue, and I give him credit because he just lied to everybody and said, I got all these mushroom barns down in Pennsylvania. And you're like, yeah, you do. Sure. Yeah. You know? He's just buying shit in and selling it, which to his credit, that's how mushrooms got to Portland. Right. They didn't get any other way, you know? Yeah. So that article mentioned Amanita Dreams and Chanterelle Dreams and Amanita Nightmares by Greg Marley. I think I got the book at Longfellow, and then
you gave me that book.
I gave you the book. And I think Kathleen said something like, we just grow them in our closet, you know, like we started like everybody else, you know? Right. And that's when I think I started talking to you about it, and you had already had sort of your interactions with foraging, you know, way before, or I don't know when. You tell me.
I think it was around that time that I was going out.
We were both fueled.
Yeah. I was cornering mushroom dudes and being like, "You gotta take me out with you."
Because it was Steven who took you out right first, and then
it was Steven at first, and then he got really connected to a community of foragers. But Steven really knows this stuff.
Yeah. He was the one who told us.
He still is teaching me tons of things.
Really?
Yeah. He's one of those guys who.
He's an information junkie.
Just about very specific things, and then he just reads and talks and learns everything that he can.
Yeah.
But there are lots of random things.
So
but mushrooms happen to be one of his things, and he's been foraging since he was a little kid with his uncle.
Really?
Yeah.
So that goes way back.
Yeah, it goes way, way back for him. But walking through the woods with that guy, you're just snacking everywhere you go.
Yeah.
And if you can eat it, he knows it. So not only that, we go back. I mean, he's the guy, we went out and there wasn't much in the way of mushroom foraging, but he just started snapping off the flowers, the blooms on milkweed.
Oh, right.
And we went back to our house and he made milkweed croquettes in breaded batter with like this mayonnaise cream sauce. And it was amazing. You
can't replicate some tastes that you find on foraged foods.
On foraged foods, yeah. No, I think... and I'm just going to talk about this again because I think it's a really cool thing to talk about. The flavors that are not part of the 30 sanctioned flavors that are the U.S. food industry. And like the matsutake. Yeah. That
deliciousness.
That cinnamon. It's a flavor that we don't have. Whatever that thing is that we don't even have words for. So we have to like put 4 words together that
like most other languages that a word means much more than just the definition of the word.
Right, dirty socks and cinnamon.
Yeah.
And the peachy flavors that are in chanterelles and
that apricot scent is like beyond bizarre.
I can't smell that smell.
Really?
Yeah, Christopher's like, I can smell it from here. And I
can smell it on the counter. Yeah, I'm like, whoa.
I just smell, it's like a faintly rubbery smell. I don't get the peaches. I've tasted it. I mean, I can taste like that chanterelle flavor.
It's got, it's a fruity sort of aroma that transfers.
Even black trumpets have like it's a flavor I can't describe. There was one year that I found so many that I
remember.
Yeah. It was incredible that I tried drying them, but I don't have a dryer.
You had like boats with like paper towels lining them. Like what was probably like 10 pounds of mushrooms, but for fucking black trumpets was like an enormous amount.
I think it was more than, I think we weighed them and I had found like 35, 40 pounds.
Oh, shit.
It was insane. And so I tried drying them, but the only way I had to dry them was in our oven, one sheet at a time. And so it was like 4 or 5 days of going to bed with the oven on a really low temperature. And it like got into my skin and we were breathing it. And I'd wake up in the morning. Anyway, to this day, I have a hard time eating black trumpets. I'm like, ugh, ugh. Like I got a little gag.
It's just too much.
I OD'd on it. Yeah, but that's the dark side of boon years of mushrooming. But yeah, there's like
the dark side's cleaning those fuckers with like maggots and paint needles
so
and shit.
Fast. You get over.
Oh yeah. But I mean like literally like you have that same like shucking thing that you do.
It's true. Yeah, you get the little
You're like, what's gonna pop out this time? You get sort of dulled out by it.
Yeah. I found a patch of matsutakis. That was raw. Like they were passed, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm eating the maggots anyway.
Flicking the maggots off. Yeah. No. Once you've got your goal and your eyes set on finding a particular mushroom, which is always how it is, you don't like just magically stumble across them. Sometimes you do, but
yeah. But yeah, no, it's once you start foraging and you realize that there are just this world of flavors when you're walking through the woods. And that's something I learned from Steven when I go out. He's just like, taste that, just taste it, just put it in your mouth.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's his wife who introduced you to the Indian cucumber, right? And then you showed us that.
That's right. Yeah, the Indian cucumber. I wonder, I should probably learn the Latin.
What it is.
Yeah.
I just noticed that double-decker stem with the flat fan leaves, you know?
In the... they have to be, you have to harvest it in the fall too. I think it has to be, that later season, you get the little white carrot.
Yep.
But I guess you have to be careful with those because it's a tuber.
Right.
You shouldn't forage them.
Right.
You can eat them as a trail nibble, but,
it's not like a mass harvest.
Yeah. To get like a few ounces of little tiny carrots.
Yeah. No, when you do see them everywhere though, like you grab one and you're like, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. It's a forest nibble. It's a granola.
Yeah, exactly. It's a forest nibble. But there's just so much out there. The wintergreen.
Yeah.
And then you realize wintergreen was in everything. It's in root beer. It's in toothpaste.
Yeah.
And it grows all over the forest floor in Maine if you walk. Partridge berry. Frozen partridge berries are like one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I can go on and on about these flavors, but they're
so far-fetched from normal food for sure.
Yeah, like that umami I was describing in the reishi mushrooms is that it is funny. It's like I think for me it's like that conspiracy that you feel when you find out the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus is not we're a lie. You know, the fact that there's only 30 flavors in an American palate is a lie. You know, strawberry flavor, blueberry flavor, butter flavor, beef flavor, chicken flavor. Like,
Kate just tonight, by the way, learned that Tyler, 11 years old, no longer believes in Santa Claus.
Oh,
and he's totally okay with that. He just felt bad and didn't feel like you should say anything because, who knows why? You feel like you're not going to get gifts or something.
Oh,
and I was like, congratulations, you can finally take credit where credit is due.
True.
You know?
Yeah, that's true.
But so it's a bummer to like
Yeah.
lose those things, but at the same time, it opens up windows. You
Did
know?
somebody tell him what happened?
I don't know. I have to get the story after we finish recording because we've been talking about it for like a little while now. Like, does he? Doesn't he?
Yeah.
Who do you like write these gifts out for? Because you're never buying gifts for yourself. You're just like, then there's a kid involved. You're like, just give them all the things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. See, I never had that. Like, there was no. I knew my mom. She would be bitching.
Yeah. You're fucking broke.
Right?
Exactly.
Gotta go to the fucking store and buy the goddamn Christmas presents.
My parents
Don't
kept
look
it
in
up.
the trunk.
Yeah. Don't look in the trunk. No, yeah, it got fucked up for me when I like opened a package that I think it said from Santa, and it was still in the box, but it had like the UPS label to like my parents, and like they started. Because I was probably his age, you know, and like I was like, I already kind of knew that, but it was the moment where it's like what we were talking about earlier, when you're worried what other people are going to think about your whatever.
Yeah.
You're not worried about
keep up the ruse. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I need to call him and just pretend to be Santa Claus and be sorely disappointed, you know, just to be that asshole.
No, hey kid, everybody else is the liar.
Everybody. I'm real. Yes.
Yeah, my name is Christopher Campbell.
He does kind of look like Santa these days.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
Is that bad? Is that affecting your
No, I always had a thing for Santa Claus.
There you go. So you got what you're after. Well,
Or you get what you deserve anyway.
That's true. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he came with the territory when you and I started talking. I didn't even realize, I think when we were moving that press in, that you two were a unit. I didn't, we were just like, well, letterpresses. It was so exciting.
Right.
And you were sort of perpetuating it by even just inviting us to bring that press up. But I remember him and I talking about wrestling, and then I realized who he was.
Both wrestled. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So that was our first like connection, aside from anything else. But I think we started talking about mushrooms and stuff.
I paid money to see that, by the way.
Who, me and Christopher wrestle? He kicked my ass. He's got old man strength, right? I don't know. Maybe not. We should get a pat.
Yeah.
He was talking about it for a long time, doing
I think it would be great. I think he needs it. I really do think he needs it.
Yep.
But I wrestle with him. It's no fun. Like, I'm gonna wrestle, and he's got me in a chokehold in like 3 seconds. I'm like, I'll go.
Yeah.
He's like, you want to wrestle now? So I just want to see him get his ass kicked. But, so if you don't think you can beat him, then never mind.
I didn't say that, but maybe, probably. Yeah, he's tougher than he looks. He's just
calculating.
He's very calculating.
Yeah.
He knows what moves he'd already use on me.
Yeah. He's already sussed it up. He's already got the match in his head and he's beat you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. He's one of those savant-y characters.
Yeah. That's why I played dirty.
Just pinch, poke, prod. It gets him down.
Wait till he's not looking and bitch slap him. It's the only way I can go up on him.
Oh, man. You got to catch him off guard.
Yeah.
If he's a pattern-oriented man.
Right. That's why he flinches every time I walk by.
Yeah.
It covers his nipples.
Yeah, it covers his nipples. Yeah, nobody wants that. That's pain that's just like it's inherent across the board of female and male. You're like, please stop.
But he should have not beat me every time he humiliates me when I want to wrestle.
He's gotta let you win eventually.
He will never let me win.
No, he's not. This is like our friend Liz Madden, who never lets Edna win at tug of war, because she was like, if you admit defeat to this dog, she will call you a sucker fish forever. And I was like, it's a dog. She's like, no, I will never lose to this animal. I'm like, you're wild. What are you talking about?
I always let my dogs win, but that's why I have pussy dogs. Like, oh, you get honey, you got it.
Oh,
like, yeah, that's right.
You. That's so good. Fucking dogs.
Yep.
Well, so that after that, that was a tumultuous time for Kathleen and I. I was like, we'd already been together for too long, and we were different. We were like growing completely apart in a weird way. So we made the rash decision. Yeah, at that time.
Oh, you guys were always so solid to me.
Yeah. Well, we weren't not solid.
Yeah.
We were like literally just had to like, it's not as if we had enough of one another. By the time we got out to Arizona and she left and we were split for I don't know how long. We talked every fucking day.
Yeah.
Right. So like you're inherently stuck to some people and you have to make the best out of it, especially if there's no fucking way around it, know? So it got better with time, but we had those moments where it wasn't going to happen, but we met one another young.
Yeah.
So yeah, we decided to sell everything, which was pretty much everything. I sold my whole like library of strange books to Yes Books.
That's
that dude just like, you could tell he like felt for me. He was like, I was like, I'm just trying to buy a fucking van, dude. Give me $1,500 for all these books. And he was like, all right. So that dude bought my van basically by buying all my books, which are still there. I still go in and I'm like, motherfucker, nobody wanted that. I'm like, that's a great poetry book. Nobody cares about poetry.
No.
Come on. No.
No, they don't.
That's the best part. It's like gravitating towards the things nobody gives a shit about. You're like, but it's so good to me.
I know. I understand though. I remember I'm a letterpress person.
Yeah, nobody should care about that.
No, nobody should. But
the soccer moms and the hockey dads who wanted to start a part-time business sure as fuck did.
Yeah.
And now Vandercook's cost too much.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Actually. That's definitely true. But
so yeah, we left. I remember the only real interaction that I think I had with you guys is when we were stuck. It was like right before we realized it was a really dangerous situation. I think I sent you a text of like this massive weed grow.
Oh yeah.
That we had like landed in. And then that was crazy. We had to like run in the middle of the night at like gunfire and stuff. It was fucking nuts.
Ooh.
Too long of a story to go into. But we got down the mountain, got out, being chased by wild boars and people on fucking methamphetamine with guns. This is like weed before it was legal. You didn't tell me
this story. You're only telling me about eating Caesar's mushrooms, but that seems like it was the least of your troubles.
Oh God, that was nothing. Yeah. Leading up to getting to Arizona was like traveling bus rides, hitchhiking, getting anywhere and anywhere, just trying to like find enough work of random things to live with people who'd feed you, like we were doing that whole thing. Yeah. Living hand to mouth. But
I
it was
remember
fun.
The van.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we outfitted it with like a screen printing thing.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, it was cool. It was like a little shop, but the van got down to Florida and then there was like 2 lug studs left on it.
Oh,
So
no.
we sold it to some poor dude who I'm sure I'm going to hell over if there is one, because he just was going back to New York and he was so stoked on it. And I was like, just give me enough money to get the fuck out of Florida.
Oh man.
So we were gone.
Yeah.
And then, we went everywhere and then ended up in Arizona. And that's when we started that first iteration of a mushroom farm, which was cool. We were just reading about it and they were the first people who were just like excited by people being excited about it. And they were like, just do it. And we did it to a degree. And then Kathleen left that situation, came back to Mass. And then I swiftly came after because there's no fucking way I was going to make it in the goddamn desert that was trying to swallow me alive.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, I think nobody knew I came back. And then I immediately came back up to Portland because I like hadn't finished Portland. It was like a premature exit,
Yeah.
And then,
You liked it there.
I did. Yeah. I didn't get enough time there at all. And that was partially the issue, We like had to leave to figure it out. And then, of course, nobody knew this. We're quiet little artist drama people,
Yeah.
And there's so many other factors that play there. But and then just trying to like find my way through that, living in my car, living at the studio building, eventually getting an apartment, like getting off of the like transient nature of travel and back to like having I remember renting that apartment with Berger and Mike and just like, I don't think I came out of my room for like a week. I like finally had a space again and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
All my shit is not going to be stolen. Like everything's fine.
Right. Were you and Kathleen split at that point?
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of stalked her around.
It's kind of coming back a little bit. See, my long-term memory is like, it's like,
yeah. Yeah, I remember Ruben. Speaking of Ruben,
Yeah.
I came back into Portland and we were painting houses, and Ruben was doing some construction. We were both working for Tony DeAgostino, who died suddenly like a year ago now.
I didn't know Tony.
Didn't know Tony?
No,
Yeah.
no.
He was an interesting cat, really cool dude. But we were working on a house, and Ruben's like, yeah, I didn't really like her anyway. She was always super disinterested. And I was and I'm seeing Ruben on Sunday too to get a tattoo. But he said that to me, and I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. What a bitch. And then like a week later, she moved back up to Maine.
Poor Ruben.
Yeah.
Man, a few words, but when he does speak, he puts his foot in his mouth.
I think he totally did. The other random time she's getting a tattoo by Ruben, and I don't think I ever told her that Ruben said that about her.
Yeah.
And why would I?
He was just trying to make you feel better.
Yeah, he was. Oh, she was disinterested.
I mean,
Nice
of all things, that's not a very bad thing to say.
No, that was pretty nice actually. No, but he was, and I'll totally air this because it's hilarious, but he was working on a tattoo, and Liz Madden, who I was just talking about, Never Lets Edna Win It, Tug of War, she was living above us, having like extremely loud and presumably violent sex with this boyfriend she was with at the time. And I think one of us said something to Ruben because we were like trying to adjust to this life, and like we were both getting tattoos by him or some shit. 3 years go by. Yeah. And she pops in while Kathleen's getting a tattoo by Ruben, and she quickly introduces Ruben, and he goes, "Oh, this is the one who has the loud, violent sex." And like we all just sort of like looked at one another. I was looking at my phone, and I like looked up, and I was like, "You gotta be shitting me!" I was like, "What the fuck just happened?" And she was like, "Oh, really?" It was this awkward moment, and Ruben did it again. He pulled it off.
Oh, but
I don't think he knows he does it either.
How can you fault him?
I would never.
I know.
No.
Yeah, it's Ruben.
He's speaking the truth. Yeah.
Speaking the truth.
But yeah, so when we came back, then I guess that was a quick digression. But
yeah.
That's when I guess I don't remember. I remember you and Christopher had a conversation and then called me. And we're like, you guys had gone out to eat and talked about it or something, and so we should start a mushroom farm, because I had come back with like,
I'm convinced
did.
It was your idea.
You think so?
You were just looking for a space. No.
You guys like,
did we go
I was
out?
done with it. I was totally done with mushroom farming. I was like trying to figure out how to make art again. I was like,
I think we went out and had beers. This is going to be our out. We went out and we had beers, and we drank so much.
yeah.
But the conversation was lost forever. But at the end of it, Christopher was really inspired by mushrooms.
Yeah, he was.
And he's like, I've got this space. There's that weird little area in the basement. Let's try it out.
Death chamber.
Yeah. And then it just kept getting bigger.
Yeah.
Bigger and bigger. And then the next thing you know, you guys are renting a space in Westbrook. And then that just kept getting bigger and bigger. And
he fell down the rabbit hole, and I just kept going with it too.
Yeah.
It was weird. You know how many times I've given Christopher an out? I'm like, you can leave at any time. And every time I do that, I feel like it's reverse, engineering the whole sort of idea of why you keep going in a business, because he's like, I feel like it encourages him a little bit more every time. And I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
We had tough moments trying to like figure this whole thing out.
Yeah. Well, it's been a hard road, right? I mean, there have been crop failures, and there have been air conditioning failures and heating failures, and
one right after the other for so long.
All of these things. But then you realize that you're also kind of, in Maine, in the Northeast. There was a time when everybody who could grow oysters out of straw bags was doing that. And now, when we first started doing this, and I say we as in I'm the one cheering in the background, you couldn't get oysters at the grocery store.
No.
You couldn't get shiitakes.
Occasionally you'd see like really sea creature-esque, like decomposing dried out oysters or shiitakes.
Right. Right. In like a styrofoam container that were, wrapped in cellophane. And then we started bringing to market these boxes of mushrooms to restaurants and to, these places that had never seen shiitake that hadn't been strangled to death.
Yeah.
They'd never seen it. And they were just gorgeous.
Yeah, that's how you always fuck up, because you grow really good mushrooms in the beginning, but your yields suck.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even make sense to sell something so good. You should have given up right there.
No, I know, but I think that's part of why Christopher's so excited about it, because it's farming. It's farming. It is a farm. Yeah. It's in a warehouse, but it's still a fucking farm. But yeah, there's still really something about something exciting about disrupting a market. There's something really exciting about going into a restaurant and knowing that the mushrooms that they're serving in that restaurant came out of here. Yeah. And
Empire was the weirdest one when you'd go in there, because she bought a shit ton of mushrooms from us. Yeah.
I mean, still, when I see, and if it says local on it, I know they're ours. Yeah. And if it says, or they're lying.
One or the other.
Which a lot of people do.
So much has changed, Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a while though, there was a good possibility it was ours, across the board. Yeah.
I don't know what the competition is nowadays, but if you push them, like, where do these come from? We always interrogate. Oh yeah. We interrogate the waitress, and they're like, "I'll go ask the chef," and they'll come out and be like, "Yeah, Northport." I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's funny, man. But
I think that's what keeps him going.
Yeah. Just that it's still there.
Not only is it still there, but
there's no stagnation. Yeah. I remember having a conversation with Mark at Hella Good Tacos before Josh closed it. And it was when we were bringing him on, and we needed the capital and we needed somebody else. We just needed a body, but to hire an employee, there wasn't enough vested interest there. And he just said, I think the one thing we can't do is ever get complacent. And I don't think we've ever had a chance to get complacent. No. I mean, dead wives, friends, family, we still have to keep fucking going. Yeah, right. And it's ball and chainish, but at the same time, it's not. Yeah. Because you realize that, like, the minute you drop, it's all gone. Yeah. So there's an overwhelming sense of responsibility to keep it going. Yeah. Yeah. And there's something inherently cool about it too. And I mean cool in like that's
an accomplishment. And I think Christopher did some thing recently, some Maine State agriculture thing where you had to be in a room
with Gretchen
with his product. And
I enjoy him being that face, because I fucking hate it.
And part of him hates it too, but I think part of him really likes it, especially when, you go down the row of people and like, this is my jam. Yeah. These are my coasters. And, and then you get to Christopher and he has this pile of alien reishi mushrooms just reaching out of the bag. Yeah. And I think, not to speak for him, but knowing so much that I do about him, that, I really do think in that moment he's proud. He's like,
there's a sense of ownership there. Yeah. And completion.
Yeah. And people walk by and they're like, what is that? And
it's peddling your art, you know?
Yeah. In a lot of ways, or peddling a new way of life, not to get, and I don't think that's hyperbole. Like,
no, but you guys, I don't think ever intended to start a mushroom farm, nor did I really. We just fell into it twice. And then it just turned into like experiment after experiment after experiment, because there was no.
But they're just so compelling.
Yeah, they fucking suck you in, Can't get out of it.
Right. Yeah. Right. I'm sitting and looking at this dried up reishi.
And they're just always there.
They're just always there. They're now petrified. Yeah. And
it'll be like that forever.
Yeah.
It's a fucking bonsai space alien.
It is. It's like this weird plant. And so
That's only in here because I put headphones on it to like promote a podcast, and we're like, we'll be talking to the Ganoderma lucidum today.
We need to come up with a good voice for it.
Oh yeah, we should. Yeah. They are. I think once you get into it, there's no getting out of it necessarily. The people who've gotten out of it have been interesting. Like when I first started researching this stuff, and even like in psychedelic land before Portland, before ever meeting you guys, it was shroomery. Mm-hmm. It's still there, and it's this fantastic like black screen, blue type, like hard to read late at night sort of blog. Or, you know, it's like a Twitter, like anything like that. It's like an old fucking thing. And and everybody on this board is like always commenting their grow charts or everything. You know, it's very nerdy. So that immediately was the entrance for us. And there was a cat named Roger Rabbit. And his name is Keith something or other. And he did the first series of like how to grow mushroom videos. Cubensis all the way through gourmets. And he was the first person really doing blocks and shiitakes, and the strains that carried forward were really, you know, his, you know, inceptions. His wife died of cancer and he got out of it. He was done. He was growing tons of weed for a while for her, I think. And sounds oddly familiar. Yeah. And then I was talking to Neil from Columbia Mushrooms out in Oregon the other night. And he was like, you know, I was recently on there and like saw that he's still active and he'll still like make a comment. And I was like, God damn. Cause that motherfucker's been on there forever, like forever.
Yeah.
And that's a wild thing that like somebody can go away entirely and still have something to say about it.
Right.
You know,
right.
You're sucked in.
You can't keep away. Yeah. Well, you can't unlearn the knowledge either. And so all that shit's just rattling around in your brain. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
So
that's the hardest part is when, you know, a lot of these farms now want to be consults and want to offer consultation services, and not enough of them have been in it long enough to have seen everything yet. Yeah. So some of them are just offering, you know, misguided information. Right. And I think that's why we haven't pushed the consultation thing as like a financial contributor to the farm at all, because A, it's very time consuming, but B, it's like we're still figuring it out, you know, and that's the best part, you know. You can tell everybody what you know and you do have a wellspring of information, but at the end of the day, you still have something to gain and something to learn, and you're going to run into an issue and have to figure your way out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're pioneering, like we said before.
Yeah.
And right now it's food, but who knows what you're going to discover. And of course, you know, the real discoveries are going to happen in MIT, but it's those cats are going to be, you know.
Oh, I got you to say cats. Yes. This is a game I play that Christopher did with that all the time. Shit. You just say a word and you incept that fucker right into the conversation.
And you just used incept again, too.
Yeah.
You're trying to get in my head, man.
Christopher used to hum when we were like in Westbrook. He would like start humming a song and I would start humming it and be like,
I know. And then he'd bring it home. And then I would pick one.
Oh, man, I'm so sorry.
Like, run, girl. You're much too young, girl. Like, where did you get that shit?
It's all Eric's fault.
Yeah, Eric's fault.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I got a couple of good ones in him. I think Where Have All the Cowboys Gone's like my numero uno to go to.
That's a good one.
Dude, it will fuck your life up. It's also a good one for forgetting songs. Like if you're like, if you got some, I did that to Kate the other day and she was like, you're a dick.
Yeah, for me,
like,
it's
I know.
The one that always wins is parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme.
It's just forever there.
Yeah, it's just there. You can't.
This is the shit that really is damaging to our like alive humans right now. If we're in old folks' homes, it's the jingles of the day that are just gonna keep spitting out of us as we're like going through Alzheimer's, and we're just gonna have Ernie Bach Jr. commercials in our fucking brains. Yeah,
no, it's true, but it's better than Taylor Swift, I guess.
Who? So I was in, this is like a quick story and then we don't ever have to have these conversations ever again, but I was in Boston and I was working at the book bindery, which Kathleen was the only job she ever made me quit because she was like, this job is going to kill you if you don't stop. Like you're fucking a psychopath. Yeah. And it was because I would get in there, it'd be dark. I'd be leaving, it was dark. Train in, train out, train in, train out.
Yeah.
It cost more to have the train rides every day than I was getting paid. It didn't make any sense, but I really wanted to get in a hardcore bindery and I was just trying to work my way through Acme and so on and so forth.
Did you Really? This is a
I got
chapter of your
lots of
life,
stories.
A chapter of your life I didn't know.
I got lots of those. I keep them to my Mike, every time we have a conversation, he's like, there's another one. I didn't fucking know that. I'm going to double check it with your mom. I'm like, I can't make this stuff up. But, oh man. Once again, this is the third time. It comes in threes.
You're filthy.
I know. Sorry.
I'm blinder than you.
You wish.
Anyway, go ahead.
No, I'm trying to remember now. Fuck.
Did you just completely lose the story entirely?
What do we... There must be like high CO2 levels in here today, you know?
That would make sense.
I try to explain that thing to people where you walk across the farm for a hamburger and you come back with a hammer or vice versa. You're like, what is happening to me right now? CO2 does damage to you, and it's long-lasting damage.
Yeah.
Fuck. I forget what the story was. It was a quick digression, and then that was it.
Yeah,
Whatever.
it seemed like a really promising one, too. Oh, the amount, the jobs, different jobs you've had in your life. You had different jobs.
Yeah.
The bookbindery. You're at the bookbindery, train in, train out.
I was so tired. Kathleen made me quit. I don't remember. It's a blank.
Oh,
It's what comes out of the blank that's more interesting, I guess. I have no idea.
whatever. That's what he said.
It's funny is I'll listen to this and edit it down and adjust the volume, and I'll be like, God damn it, that's what I was supposed to tell. Do I just say it and like put people's voice? I don't know.
You could always edit it in.
Right?
Be like, okay.
No, that'd be the worst.
No, it would
It's
be
got to
the
be
super
raw.
nerdy.
The super nerdy. I really fucked this one up, man.
It'd be like putting in an audio version of an asterisk in it. Stay tuned to the end of the podcast for the
This
story
is a
that you
Mitch
remembered.
Hedberg thing, though. Those are my favorite stand-up jokes. Where like every joke of his was like that hyphen. You're just like, or that little asterisk. You're just like, there was something here. Now it's a footnote, and I forgot. The joke was funny for 10 seconds while I was telling it. Now it's over because I forgot it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is the CO2. It's the CO2. We're really not this dumb person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just tired.
I think we are.
Hard telling.
I had to pee too.
All right, cool. We're going to call it. This has been fun. Thanks for doing it with me.
Bye.
Goodbye. Well, that was Lisa Pixley. Man, go check her printmaking madness out on Instagram at printcraftpixley. PRINTCRAFTPIXLEY. And if you're in Portland, swing on into her shop, Printcraft, at 246 Danforth Street. Thanks so much for listening to the show this week. You can follow or subscribe to MycoWizards wherever the hell you get your podcasts. And write to us at P.O. Box 897 in Gardner, Maine. I sure do love that old school snail mail. And if you want to follow us, head on over to Instagram and find us at MycoWizards Podcast. This episode was produced and sponsored by Maine Cap N Stem Mushroom Company with music composed by Damon Hicks. Head on over to capandstem.com for certified organic substrate and spawn for all your mycological needs. And until next time, later on, man. He was the Stallion Man. The Stallion Man. Hi, Jim Dunn. Real quick, if you're still listening, jump back on Instagram like you have nothing better to do and check out Myco Lycos. Motherfuckers connecting music synthesizers to mushrooms. What?